Welcome to the Girl Out of Order podcast. I am so excited that it is the month of March for a number of reasons. First and foremost, this girl loves spring because it leads to summer. But I'm more and more excited because in the month of March, in Girl Out of Order, we are going to be talking about the topic of worthiness. It couldn't be any more timely, and it couldn't be any more needed. I am showing you, if you are on the YouTube channel, a copy of the book Worthy by the amazing Jamie Kern Lima. We will have a link to this book in our show notes and a link to Jamie's all her things, because this woman is on a mission to help as many people as she possibly can understand their intrinsic worth, their value as a human being. Simply because you are a human being. We struggle so much as female humans with understanding our worth. And so I felt compelled, coming off of Female Friendship February, to really delve into the topic of worthiness, to peel back the layers and really get to the heart of what makes us worthy. Because so many people are sleepwalking through this life, simply not understanding their value as a person. And so we're going to be dealing with the topic of worthiness and handling all of the different angles, talking about and mostly working through things I'm learning in Jamie Kern Lima's book on worthiness. Because here's the deal. When it comes to worthiness, I think we can make a mental assent. We can do the head nod. Yeah, okay, yeah, I understand worthiness. Yeah, we're all worthy, and we can do the agreement in our brains. But there's a disconnect from our hearts. And so we're going to be delving in a little bit more today as an introduction, and then we're going to go deep, deep, deep in the next 3 or 4 podcasts on the topic of worthiness. But before we dive in, I wanted to just ask you listeners, you beautiful community, if you would do us a favor and go on whatever platform you listen to this podcast, leave us a written review. I cannot emphasize strongly enough how important this is for us to get the message of Girl Out of Order out into the universe. We want as many women as possible to be impacted by the message that you are worthy, that you belong, that you need to fully embrace your unique self and stop trying to fit into anybody else's mold. You are exactly the you you're supposed to be. Even if you are in transformation, if you are growing, you are still deeply worthy. So help us out. Leave us a 5-star review, but more importantly, leave us a written review, because when people read these reviews, sisters, think about it. How often do you buy a product or listen to a podcast or buy a book if you haven't read the reviews? And so we want this message to get out there. And we want to keep building our Girl Out of Order community on Facebook. I think I said this in the last podcast, but in the month of February alone, we doubled our community. And it's not about size, it's about lives. So we want to get as many lives not only impacted and changed, but connected to one another. So help us out and leave us that review. And join the Facebook community. I mean, what are you waiting for? If you're listening to the podcast, you should be in the community, because we're going to be building on this podcast this month by going live, taking questions, sharing our insights, and we want you there. Okay, so for today, as we start on the topic of worthiness, I just feel deeply compelled to talk about the elephant in the room. And there's probably a number of elephants in the room, but I've got my eyes fixed on one big, scary elephant that we try to ignore and we try to pretend we've dealt with. But oftentimes it's still there and we haven't dealt with it. And that is our past. Our pasts do not equal our futures. Tony Robbins says, your past does not equal your future unless you choose to live there. Those are our empower words for this episode. Let me say it one more time and say it slowly so it sinks into your beautiful hearts. Our pasts do not equal our futures unless we choose to live there. Why am I so fired up to start the topic of worthiness by talking about our pasts? Well, you see, there's a number of reasons. First and foremost, I just came off of a 4-day trip to Florida where I was blessed to serve as crew for Unleash the Power Within Hits the Road. So we're out there promoting this amazing, life-changing conference that's taking place virtually at the end of March, run by the one, the only, the great Tony Robbins. And I was able to serve these events. We did 8 events over the course of 3 days. That was a lot of content, a lot of humans, a lot of stories that were walking into that room. And I feel particularly impacted to talk about our past not equaling our futures because of the women that I served alongside. I was so blessed to serve with my Unleash Her Power Within women, not just the other senior mentors that I serve as a leader with, but several of the women in the community just showed up to serve with amazing hearts, with open minds, with welcoming arms. And it was so cool and so joyful. I'm telling you, this community of women in Unleash Her Power Within is unlike any community I've ever seen, I've ever experienced, I've ever been a part of. In fact, as I was, okay, let me back up. I got to stay in an Airbnb with 7 other women. This must have been like a little taste of what it was like to live in a sorority house without all the craziness and without all the, pardon me, bitchiness. We had the best time, and we barely even had time in the place, but it was the vibe, it was the community, it was the conversations, the organic conversations that happened. So what does this have to do with your past not equaling your futures? It was the conversations. It was the sharing of the stories. It was the understanding that I felt in my soul that everybody has a story, that everybody has a past, and everybody is dealing with that past in different ways. And I had a number of conversations, not just about like, just this is my story and this is where I grew up, but I mean, I have Simone who grew up in Jamaica, and I have Zakil who's, lives in Dallas, but was married to a Jamaican. And then I have Gwenny who has just a beautiful flavor and a really tragic, difficult past. And we started to talk about the different stories that we carry forward into our present day, how we viewed certain things that took place in the events, how we handle the chaos and the uncertainty, and how we bring our energy. It's all tied to how we handle our pasts, how we handle our stories. What stories you bring to your life now dictates how you will experience events, relationships, conversations. I had a set of very deep conversations with another friend about some very hurtful family interactions. And it just made me realize, because this woman is living in such a beautiful state in spite of this painful past. I got to observe her so deeply, and the way that she connects The way that she bravely showed up, because it wasn't easy for her, totally belied what she's been through and even what she's going through with her recent past. And it made me wonder what makes her so different, especially from the family member who isn't handling her past in a way that is honoring and congruent to what she wants her future to be. And it made me aware that when you are willing to be open and be vulnerable and take an honest look at your past and its impact on where you are now, you have the capacity to work through it, to forgive others for their part in it, and to protect yourself from further damage from it. And this woman is doing a remarkable, I would dare say, supernatural job of doing that, despite what I'm sure hurts. And she's made a decision, and it's quite obvious. She knows in her soul that her past no longer defines her future, and it doesn't define her present. And it got me thinking, how am I handling that? How am I dealing with a very difficult past? Am I still carrying it, like dragging it along with me, like it's wrapped around my ankle and I'm trying to walk and everything just feels off and I've got inflammation and my knees hurt? It's just a physical visual of what I believe happens when we carry our past with us and we use it to either make excuses for not taking action, or we allow it to hold us back, or we use it to fuel poor decisions. None of that is healthy. So then that begs the question, what do we do with our pasts? Because obviously we can't go back and rewrite them. We don't get to go back and change our story. But we can change our story about what it means. And that's not only what this woman is doing, and what several women that I got to talk to this last weekend, incredible human beings, they have difficult, trying pasts. Some would say, you have every right to be angry. You have every right to, not do this or not go there or not open yourself up. I'd have my walls up too. And I'd stay away from that person and I'd lash out. Like, if we listen to those voices, they become the voices of our pasts speaking to us. Whether it is a family member who has wounded you deeply and betrayed your trust, or a husband that has cheated on you, or a child that has discarded you, or a way that you failed at something you really wanted. That past is a learning opportunity, not a definition of who you are. And that, my sisters, is the beautiful, beautiful opening for what I want to tell you. You get to choose. You have autonomy to choose what your past will mean for your present and your future. So here's the other reason why I'm so excited to start this month of worthiness with your past does not equal your future. I am so excited and honored that I have the opportunity for my first time speaking this week at Lauren LaHave's Own Your Worth conference in Las Vegas on March 9th. I could pinch myself. I am so honored that I am going to have this incredible opportunity that I have been dreaming about for years and years. I found a vision board from 2019 where I had a picture I had cut out of a woman standing on a stage with a microphone speaking. I have wanted to be a public speaker for so many years. And I'm having an opportunity to do that. And I thank Lauren from the deepest part of my heart for giving me this opportunity to share my story. You see, I'm not going there to teach a seminar. I'm not going there to talk about law. I'm not going there to promote the podcast. My story is my message, and my story is my past. And it got me thinking once again, my past does not equal my future unless I choose to live there. And I do not choose. I do not consent to allow my past to dictate my present or my future. Sisters, my beautiful, precious sisters, I am not minimizing how difficult our past can be, because trust me when I say this, I understand pain. I understand violation. I understand betrayal very deeply, very personally. And I know freedom because I have made a decision that my past will no longer define me. I will no longer live as the victim I was. When I dropped my victimhood and I dropped my sword that I was using to defend everybody else, and I realized it was actually sacrificing myself in an attempt to keep myself safe from my past, I dropped it and I became free from it. And when I say I dropped it, I dropped my sword, and my soul became free. My sword came about as a protection from my past, whether it was past abuse, infidelity in my marriage, hard things in my career, public humiliation. I could have allowed all of that to tell me I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of time. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of protection. Those were the stories, sisters, that ran in the background of my programming that kept me stuck in a place of poor to no self-worth. So believe me when I say your past does not equal your future. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm saying because I am living proof. Sisters, I'm living proof. Your past doesn't have to define you. Be free of it. How, you ask? How do I get free of this past when it's so painful? There's no easy formula for moving through your past and putting it where it belongs. But there are a few things that you can absolutely start doing now. And the first thing is recognizing and accepting that you have the choice and the power within you to not live in the past. There's a goofy phrase I used to say to my kids: don't look in the past because you're not going that direction. But beauty is in its simplicity. You're not going in that direction. So stop constantly looking backwards. That being said, you do need to acknowledge and accept the pain. You have to be able to look at it, be able to acknowledge it, be able to recognize what it was and accept it for what it was. Because sometimes we can acknowledge that something happened, but we don't fully accept it for what it was. So acknowledging it and accepting it, obviously that is a very important part of this. And an aside, that a very, very important aside, please, please seek professional help. If there is a part of your past that continues like trauma that you need to get out, it is imperative that you get the professional help you need to work through that past. But just make sure whatever professional help you get, they're helping you move forward. You just don't want to stay stuck in that place. And this is something that I am very new at, but I am finding it to be remarkably powerful. And again, in its simplicity. And it's that practice of meditation, of the power of the pause. We've talked about that. The power of the pause and the pausing and the meditation and allowing your brain to run free and to be calm and to work through things. We do have to work through our past. But if you don't first acknowledge that your past does not define your future, you're going to stay stuck. I wanted to share a quote from Jamie Kern Lima's book because she does it and says it way better than I ever could. Our past, even the parts we're embarrassed by or ashamed of, truly help us become the person we are destined to become. With the unique skill sets we only develop because of what we went through. So acknowledging and accepting your past and working through it. And then it's that reframe. It's that life is either happening to me or life is happening for me. If life is happening for you, even your past is happening for you. And so go back to this conference that I'm going to be sharing my story at. My story is a really difficult one to tell, and it's one I've resisted telling for many, many years. But I know, like Jamie Kern Lima says, that my past, I want to honor it because it has made me the incredible person that I am today. It has made me the woman that I am. It has given me the inspiration to serve like I serve and to love like I love. Were it not for my past pain and my past shame, I wouldn't be in a position to serve women and love women and want to be a light and a beacon of hope, that you don't have to stay stuck in your old story. And I wanted to say one final thing about your past not equaling your future and giving you a little bit of a tip, a little bit of a tool to start working on this. I guess it's two, actually. Setting boundaries for your beautiful self, honoring yourself to set boundaries, because when you are working on changing your mindset about your past unequaling your future, you have to make a conscious choice about who and what you allow in your life, in your mind, and in your soul. So you need to set boundaries for things that don't help you, that don't serve you, and in fact, may actually be serving to keep you stuck where you no longer belong, because you shouldn't be living in a past that no longer has the right to define you, sisters. So setting boundaries. And then this is a huge one. And this comes off of my weekend and the weekend I'm going into, because I'm going to be spending time with a lot of amazing women at this conference coming up as well. I feel like the first part of this year started off like a freaking rocket ship. building a support system, and I would dare to say building a tribe. Building a tribe of women, of strong friends and family that are going to help you move forward. And that is a kind of a twin with the setting of boundaries. When you build a support system of people who are going where you want to go, that might be further along than where you are, but are pulling you along, you are going to be so much stronger and better equipped to not allow your past to equal your future. Glennon Doyle says, we must stop asking people for directions to places they've never been. Stop hanging out with the same people, with the same thought processes and the same mindsets, because it's going to keep you stuck. You want to get with people who are going where you know you belong to go. Because when you make a conscious choice, and that's where it has to start, that your past no longer defines your future, then there are people that you sometimes need to leave in the past. And that's really hard. I think I told the story about my friend I met in Vegas recently who had to literally end 8 friendships with people that had been in her life for a very long time because they were no longer going where she knows her life is meant to go. She left them in the past because she no longer wanted her past to define her beautiful future. At Girl Out of Order, one of my most deeply held passions and beliefs is that we have the freedom to choose. You have the freedom to choose. It's a freedom you have to exercise. Just because someone gave you the freedom doesn't mean you're going to actually exercise the freedom. You might choose to stay stuck. I remember this weird visual, and I'm not even sure where it came from. Maybe it was something about cage-free chickens, where they have chickens that were conditioned to be in the darkness of the barn, and they put I opened a door and put a thing of chicken wire, and they kept trying to shoo the chickens out so they could be in the sun and they could explore new areas, and the chickens kept running back into the darkness of the barn. And it didn't matter how often the farmers kept trying to shoo them out, they ran back to their comfort zone. And as a result, they never got to the growth zone. Okay, maybe that's a little bit of a stretch with chickens, but it works with you. If you keep running back to the comfort zone, what's familiar, you're not going to get yourself to the growth zone. Sometimes you have to pass, well, most times you have to pass through what we call the panic zone, which means you are stepping out into the uncertainty of what's next. And you might have a physical response that says, danger, danger, run back to what's familiar. But what's familiar is often your past. And I am telling you with every fiber of my being, because I've lived it and I'm continuing to live it, and it's still unfolding for me, that your past does not equal your future as long as you, as Tony Robbins says, choose not to live there. You are worth it, sisters. As we embark on this month where we delve into worthiness, it is so perfectly aligned with the mission of Girl Out of Order, but we've got to start with dealing with our stories. And our stories are our past. They are our pasts. And you can choose that what has happened to you no longer defines you, you beautiful human. Whether you grew up in an alcoholic home where you had to grow up very fast, or you were in a marriage where you were beaten or denigrated or sexually violated, whether you dropped out of college and you never finished that degree, whatever your story is, it doesn't define you, and you have the power to choose to change. And like I'm going to be doing this week, and I would love all your prayers and good vibes for my talk on March 9th. What I get to do this week is I get to share my past as a roadmap to what's possible. That's the value of our pasts. Our pasts fuel us to live a mission of growth and contribution, these beautiful high values, so we can have the most meaningful life possible. You can do the same. You must do the same. The power to change is never a matter of ability. Tony Robbins says it is always a matter of motivation. Are you motivated to change? Are you ready to let go of a past that no longer serves your current identity and your future identity and mission? I know you are, because you, my beautiful listener, are a girl out of order, and you are here because you know you are made for more. You know that you are going to no longer accept other people's limitations and definitions of your beautiful self. And it starts by letting go of the power your past has held onto your present and how it has constrained your futures. No more, sisters. The day is today. When is now the right time to start doing this? Now, now, now. Now is the time to choose. You can do this. Set some boundaries. Get a good support system. Deal with your story, and then find the beauty of it in your story. Find the beauty and the possibility in your past, because it can transform not only your future, but the future of others. And then the meaning that you get from it is magical. And I get to experience that this week when I get to talk about my past and how it has made me the incredible woman I am. And the woman I am is a woman on a mission to help as many women possible understand their worth, their identities, and live amazing, unleashed lives, starting with you. I love you. I believe in you. You can do this. You must do this, because the world needs what only you can give. And we're in this together. Thank you so much for joining me for the first episode in You Matter March. Your past does not equal your future. Got a little fired up today because this topic is essential and it's foundational. I am still working on the journey of self-worth, of believing that I am worthy of my dreams, that I am worthy of love and protection and fidelity. And you know what? We're in this together. I haven't arrived, but I just want to share with you my growth and what I'm learning. And I'm so proud of you for showing up for yourself. Please come join our Facebook community. We're going to be doing so much more work on worthiness in the month of March. And I need you there because, like I said, the world needs what only you can provide. I'll see you next time.